Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're tackling a big question, one that I think we all wrestle with. How do we take all the stuff we learn and actually do something with it? How do we get it out of our heads and into the real world?
Because, let's be honest, just having an idea, no matter how brilliant, doesn't really get you anywhere. The real magic, the real power, happens when you put that idea to work. It's all about application.
I mean, come on, do you know you have? We've all been there. That right there is what we call the knowing-doing gap. You know something just long enough to check a box, but it never really sinks in. It never changes how you actually think or act. Well, that's the exact problem we're going to talk about solving today.
So how do we close that gap? How do we build that bridge from just knowing a thing to actually doing a thing? It all starts with moving past simple memorization.
The bridge is built through something called knowledge application. And this is way more than just spitting back facts. It's an active, you could even say creative process. You're taking what you've learned and using it to build something totally new. Maybe it's a new conclusion, a solution to a problem, or even a product. This is where real thinking kicks in.
But how do you actually do that? Well, you need the right tools. So I want you to imagine a kind of mental toolkit, and inside, there are 7 specific tasks, each one designed to help you put your knowledge to work.
And here they are. Now that might look like a long list, but to make it easier to wrap your head around, we're going to group them into 3 main categories: investigative tools, creative tools, and analytical tools. Let's dig in.
First up are investigative tools. Seriously, think of these as your detective kit. They're all about exploring a topic, asking the tough questions, and really digging deep to find out what's going on.
The first tool is experimental inquiry. This is basically you becoming a scientist in your own mind. So instead of just reading a fact and accepting it, you form a hypothesis. You ask, okay, but what if I did this? And then you figure out a way to test it. It's all about staying curious and challenging your own assumptions.
And the process follows these simple but really powerful steps. You make a prediction, you test it, you see what happened, and, this is the important part, you reflect on how it changed your thinking. This isn't just for a science lab. You can use this for anything, from a business idea to a new recipe. Now, the investigation tool is what you pull out when things just don't add up. You're the detective examining the evidence. You're looking for contradictions, for gaps in the story. Your mission is to sift through all the messy information and build a case that finally makes sense of it all. All right, so once you've done your detective work, it's time to switch hats. The next set of tools in our toolkit are all about building, creating, and finding your way around obstacles. The key word here is systematically. This is not about just throwing stuff at a wall and hoping something sticks. Problem solving is a structured approach. It's about drawing a map from where you are now to where you want to be and planning the best route.
And the process is actually pretty straightforward. You clearly state your goal, then you identify all the things standing in your way, the obstacles. From there, you can brainstorm different solutions, different paths you could take, and then decide which one is the most promising to try first.
And then we have invention. This is really the ultimate creative task. It's where your knowledge becomes something real, something tangible. It's the act of designing and building something that literally did not exist before. This is where knowledge truly comes to life. Okay, last but not least, we have our analytical tools. This final set is all about using logic and evidence to make smart judgments and clear choices.
We make thousands of decisions every single day, right? But how many of them do we make really, really well? This tool is designed to take the emotion and the guesswork out of big decisions and replace it with a clear, logical framework.
So, just take a look at this matrix. First, you decide what actually matters to you. Those are your criteria, things like cost or durability. Then you lay out your different options and you score each one against your criteria. Now, look at this example. It's a 3-way tie. So what does that tell you? It forces you to think deeper. Maybe you need to add another criterion, or maybe all 3 options are equally good. Either way, it makes your thinking crystal clear.
All right, so this all sounds great in theory, but what does it actually look like when you put it all together? Let's check out a really cool real-world example.
So get this. A teacher challenges students to design and build a rocket. But there's a catch. It can only be powered by Alka-Seltzer. I love this. It's not about memorizing physics formulas from a book. It's about actually using those physics principles to make something that flies. And this quote just says it all, doesn't it? The point isn't for them to find the right answer. The point is for them to generate their own conclusions, defend them, and then literally watch their knowledge take flight.
It's brilliant.
And when you break it down, you can see them using the entire toolkit. They use invention to design the rocket in the first place. When a fin breaks, they switch to problem-solving mode. They use experimental inquiry to figure out the perfect ratio of fuel to water. And they use decision-making to choose their materials. See how it all fits together?
So what's the big takeaway from all of this? It's that these 7 tasks, they're not just for a classroom. This is a practical, powerful toolkit you can use for the rest of your life.
Honestly, whether you're launching a business, trying to solve a complex project at work, or even just making a really big personal decision, these tools apply. This is the fundamental framework for thinking clearly, solving tough problems, and actually creating something new and valuable in the world.
So, we've walked through the toolkit, the 7 ways to turn what you know into what you can do. You now have the tools to be a creator, an innovator, and a problem solver. So the only real question left is, what are you going to build with it?